I definitely.
That's like a taser. That's a taser. That's not. Yeah. Yeah. Going jogging. How we doing? Good.
So with
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
with Cisco losing, taking his own power away, will Ralph step up more in the physical fight scene?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, with Cisco not having his powers anymore, he still has his abilities, his tremendous abilities as an intellect, as a genius, boy genius, prodigy, all that stuff. But him not being in the field, you're a team member down, you're a team member down, and that creates different adjustments and different threats for Barry and the rest of Team Flash, because you need, you need the members out there to be able to combat these threats that are coming. And that is going to change things a little bit. He will be out there more, and I think he is going to step it up more in terms of a leadership position, for sure. He's at a point now where he's ripened enough where he knows how to do this stuff. He doesn't need. I mean, Barry taught him all that stuff. Season 4, he had all that work, and then in Season 5, it's just part of it. Part of it.
What can we expect to see from Ralph's arc this season?
Say again, please.
What can we expect to see from Ralph's arc this season?
We're going to see more of we're going to continue the progression of into the detective aspect that we started last year and ended with, him figuring out Thawne and the dagger and all of that stuff. And we're going to continue that. And I think he's going to be a little more independent this year in that sense. Kind of, being that private eye, and we're going to finally see more of what does he do when he's doing that private eye stuff, and see how good he really is at it. And how that also forces him to grow to pursue those things. And obviously the element of, Sue Dibney is going to come in at some point this season, and that's going to change him forever.
What are the chances of Ralph getting a new costume this year?
Somebody else just asked me that, and that's something that we haven't talked about yet. We needed to get the season off the ground. It's tricky because when I look at the Ralph Dibney costumes, the orange one, I don't really see the orange one working. It's a little too walking highlighter. I love like the purple kind of mauve sort of thing. And then the other one that I love is the red one, but we've got a guy that kind of has the market cornered on red, and it's his show. You know what I mean? I love the red one. It's something that I'd love to explore at some point, but I think it's a little tricky when we've got, the Scarlet Speedster, and he's the hero, I'd love to see that suit. I think if anything happens with a different suit, it's going to be after Crisis.
I feel like the show does a really good job of balancing the detective aspects with, within budgetary reasons, like not going too crazy with the superheroic stuff.
Yeah.
How hard do you think they're going to have, especially with something like Crisis coming? Do you know if they're going to lean more on the special effects fees?
Well, I don't know. I haven't had that conversation with them yet. I really honestly don't know if they're going to involve more of the special effects in Crisis. I don't know. I actually don't know about that, too much about that. I think that becomes, more of a logistical problem than a creative problem for sure. I mean, logistics are tricky when you have, especially in crossovers and stuff like that, when you have so many people with so many powers and you need special effects for every little thing. It just becomes a tremendous amount to do, And when you've got to get these things filmed and get them out within a few weeks, those are tricky timelines to do. It's not like doing a movie where we have a year of post-production or something like that. So it becomes a bit of a challenge. I would love to see more of that. I have a tremendous amount of ideas that I've spoken with Eric Wallace about, that he's been very receptive about, of different ways to do Ralph's powers and to do Elongated Man's powers. I mean, I'm big on trying to develop a different kind of fighting style for him this year. I think there's a way for him to be very dangerous with what his powers are that I think would be really, really cool, I'd love to see that. I mean, he's got a built-in whip, he's got a built-in grapple gun, he's got all this stuff that would be really fun. And I'd love to see elements of that brought in, and we're working on that. And we're also going to see how, in terms of the way that he fights, how, now that he's this we've gotten the detective aspect and really pumped that up, how does he use that when he's in battle, for lack of a better term, Can he use the detective skills to kind of help him fight enemies and kind of predict, and we're exploring all of that.
So you mentioned Sue's coming this season.
Sure.
Are you excited to get to play that kind of horseback? Because that's a different kind of.
I'm a little nervous, to be honest. I am excited, but I'm also I'm nervous because I feel like ever since I started on this show that all roads have been leading to that. I think with Ralph Dibney, all roads lead to Sue, right? And I never thought about it until you asked me that question, but I'm a little nervous about that. That's, I want that to be good, and I want that to be really good. And I'm excited, but boy, that's a big thing, Joker in a Batman movie. It's like, this is a big thing for this character, so like, you want it to be amazing, to be great. And I think that's going to come down in a lot of ways to the casting and to whoever ends up playing Sue Dibney. I think is going to be a very interesting thing to see play out and see how that goes. What else? No. Unless they're not telling me. Let's see if Kate Blanchett's available.
Just in case
okay,
it goes off randomly.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, we got to wrap. Sorry.
Thank you guys very much.
Have a quick picture. Thank you so much.
See you later.
See you guys. Good to see you.
We're going to go over down.
Guys, finally, meet again.
So,
How's everyone doing? Really good. How you doing? 4 minutes, go! Go! So is Sherlock really gone, or we're going to get a different iteration of the character again? No one's... Did you watch the television show? No one's ever gone. Are they ever gone? It's a multiverse with all these Earths. They're never really gone. He said cryptically.
Is there going to be a whole crisis episode with just all the Wells?
Listen, there's myriad ways to get a show canceled, and that sounds like a great. Yeah.
Sherlock was such an Sherlock. It started like
Sherlock.
It was going to be. It seemed like it was going to be just kind of like a comic relief character early on.
Yep.
How early did you guys kind of map out that character's arc, because he turned into something fascinating?
Generally, the way it works is in the off season. Well, a larger picture of it is, which sort of leads to an answer. It's a little bit of a roundabout answer, but what do you got? You got all you got is time. So, Greg Berlanti, yes? Yes. Okay. So Greg Berlanti and I had done a bunch of shows together, and then it was like, okay, those shows, one lasted a season, the other one had the sword of Damocles hanging over, it lasted 3 seasons, but, when we started out on the Flash, he's like, play the Reverse Flash. I'm like, yes. The idea was that he wasn't Greg Berlanti, the uber Hollywood producer. He was the guy who'd done 1 show, 2 shows, and he still retained that same humility, which is why he's one of the greatest humans to work for. And he was like, if we managed to do 1 season of Flash, how great that would be. I can have it on my desk as a calling card. I've done this. And when we finished that first season, which largely, if you've watched it, was Flash versus Reverse Flash, Barry has a chance to change the most egregious things that ever happened, and doesn't. And then we were like, okay, that's it, I'm done. And then he was like, but what if we could, and then all those other Wells fashion, and the genesis of those was, what are we missing? And Grant's so winning, Candice is so winning, Danielle's so winning, Carlos is so winning. I was like, what if we had a daily asshole? Because they really are. And it's like, what if we had like conflict in the cortex, which is a guy who's like no social graces, a bit of a dick, which became a line. And then ultimately you think, because of what's transpired with Harrison Wells season 1, Reverse Flash, you think he's going to be a villain, and he's not. And that was Harry. And then we're like, oh, we're on to something. Then season 2 was dark, and I was like, what we could use? A little more comedy. And that was HR. In the back of my head, I always thought, what would be nice, though, if there was more of a tangential through line that connected to the story we were trying to tell that season. And HR didn't really... We didn't completely do it that way. And so last year with Sherlock was like, the idea of Sherlock, a master detective, which will be funny because he'll have this pomposity, but also he'll actually be good at what he does, tracking down the Reverse Flash. Like tracking down me was like, oh, and it fits with the story. It's not indulgent. That was a delight to play. That's a long roundabout answer, but yeah.
How did it feel going back to sort of the beginning again and being the Reverse Flash after a couple of years being other
Well, almost every year, if you look closely, almost every year, that yellow suit's coming on, and so, that's the largest shadow that the characters I play cast. That's the reason that I'm on the show, and so if there wasn't, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't that opportunity in the offing, knowing that I was going to put that suit on. The fact that I know that that's always coming, that that the Joker's got to show up for Batman, and Luthor's got to show up for Superman, and Reverse Flash has to show up for Flash, and the fact that that's always there adds something really delicious to playing the other characters, because you're kind of like tick, 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 tick. This is great, and then pretty soon this guy's going to show up.
Will you be directing again this year?
Yeah, there's always seems like yeah. I mean, yeah. It's always that's always a thing. Yeah. I mean, doing that. I mean, what was interesting is just because we know each other a little well. Like doing the 100 was a delight, you know, and they give you a lot to do the 100. You know, you're allowed a lot of leeway, and you have a. I should probably just say they give you a lot to do the 100, and so.
That way there's no like...
I just want to make sure that when I'm doing it that I'm getting a chance to accomplish the same sort of things that we're allowed to accomplish with the 100. That's all. That's cryptic too. Yeah, I'm just leave it there. You guys don't get to have all the info. You don't need all the info. It's a delight to direct a show. I will say that. I love doing it. I love working with these guys. Grant's always like, yeah, it's my favorite 2 weeks of the year. You know, we have a report that if you could see as Flash fans, it's like, you know, it's all because we're like older, younger brother, but it's a lot of like, that was unbelievably bad. Do that again. And he does it like, that was unbelievably good. That kind of thing. Like he's you know, Grant and all of the cast, like if you've been to set and you've talked to them a number of times, you know that not every cast is going to sit at your table and get along and genuinely like each other. You know, like that's a rarity in television, and maybe they don't understand how rare it is. But I remember talking to Mike Farrell, the actor that did MASH, the television show. We did a television show together, and he once said, I asked him what was MASH like, and he's like, season 9 on the Friday, we would talk about where we were going to get together for dinner on the Saturday. He said, can you imagine that? Season 9. That's what we thought of each other. And he's like, that, yeah, at the time Mike was in his 60s, he's like, that's, I know enough now, he said, to know like what a gift that was. And I think the fact that on our off days, there's the same sort of vibe with our group, like who's getting together, who's, you know, it's again, it's all fleeting, but the fact that we get to have this on a long-running show is special. Should I go? Is that good? Feels like that's a good ending note, right? Yeah. Don't you need it? Quick picture from you? Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Privilege always. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the Comic-Con.
I'm sorry? Starting showrunner Eric.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. All right. No. Business as usual.
Ended the season with a pretty emotional finale, losing Nora. Is there obviously a lot of repercussion down? Might we ever see her return?
Oh yeah. We're a time travel show, of course. While there are no immediate plans for that, we would definitely love to have Jessica back. She was terrific on the show. Just a blessing to join us, and we do have some weird hints this season that you may or may not pick up about how she might return. So keep an eye out for that.
Tornado twins, you're saying?
No, I'm not saying a word.
The show took some criticism last year for stretching a villain out over the whole season that maybe couldn't have, some people thought he couldn't have supported the whole season.
Yes.
How are you guys addressing that this year? Because like the villains have always been a strong point of Flash universe.
Two ways. One, I would say come to our panel later. Two, I think Crisis is helping us address this problem of having one long big bad over such a long period of time, because Crisis happens kind of in the middle of the show, right, in the middle of season 6. So it divides the season into really kind of 3 parts. Pre-Crisis and all of the dread and the leading up to it, what's going to happen, how do we deal with this emotion? It's heavy-duty stuff, right? Then Crisis itself happens and occurs, that kind of tent hole we've been driving to for 5.5, 6 years. But what happens when we don't have anywhere to drive to? What is life beyond post-crisis? There are no limits. So now the story can go into crazier, weirder, and I think more exciting, dramatic places. So look for that this week.
So the original comic Crisis was a reboot.
Yes.
So are you planning on rebooting things as well?
I think reboot only in a minor way. You know, we're not getting rid of any of our wonderful characters. We love our cast so much, but what it does allow us to do post-Crisis is to change the rules of what Flash episodes can look like, of what villains we might be able to have. Villains that wouldn't have existed before now have a place on the show to come in really weird and unexpected ways. So it's not a reboot, but I do think it's opening. It's not even opening up the doors. We're kicking the doors open because I'm a comic book guy. There will be more comic bookiness this season. I think that's fair to say.
How does Nora's sacrifice affect the West Allen family? Is it going to be tension, or is it going to kind of bring it closer together?
Nora's death will bring everyone closer together, especially Barry and Iris. And they have to deal with it immediately, right up front, as soon as the season begins, especially in a season when they are facing an equally or even greater cataclysm, which is Crisis itself. So you've got Barry and Iris dealing with really two things. How do I deal with the death of my child, and how do I save the world from Crisis while doing that? It's a multi-layered, emotional kind of storyline that I think Candice and Grant so far are just knocking it out of the park. I'm sorry.
I was really, one of the things I really loved about last season was sort of, I felt like the show figured out a better way to kind of integrate Killer Frost and her journey into kind of like the overall season. Where do you, now that it feels like she's a little bit more part of the team, where do you see her going? Her and Caitlin, I guess. I never know whether to refer to them as two separate people or like two halves of a person.
No, I understand.
Like, where is that all going?
Well, then you're going to be very happy in season 6. Season 6 is a huge season for Killer Frost. We've spent 5 years basically developing Caitlin, and she's lived, she's loved, she's had fiance, she's gone through all these sorts of things. But this poor Killer Frost had. It's time to get her up to speed. So I'm really looking at this as almost the season of Killer Frost in many ways. Not that we won't see Caitlin, obviously.
So we've seen the new Killer Frost costume.
Okay, this will be last question, please. Okay.
You better go.
Yeah, you go.
So you kind of mentioned a moment ago that you guys have been building to Crisis since pretty much the first episode.
Yes.
What is it like? You guys have been running the show. You finally reached it. What is that like to oh, we finally get to do this?
Great relief. We're finally getting to the thing that we promised everybody 5.5 years ago. And as I kind of mentioned before, the wonder of what's after Crisis. There are no more rules anymore. Now we can unleash the comic book geekery, I think, in a way we were never able to before.
Quick picture. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Of course. Thanks, everybody. Everybody have a great day.
You too.
Sorry about that.
I wanted to know what costume too.
No, you've seen her costume.
So it seemed to find a balance between Caitlin and Frost last season, where they sort of coexist pretty easily. Is that going to continue, or might there be some? Might she come out more, and that dark side might reappear?
I was really glad we finally sort of explored and told that story last year of like how Killer Frost and Caitlin feel about each other, and the ways they want to protect each other. So I was really grateful for that storyline. And then I think this year is going to be a little bit more about Killer Frost. She's going to get to be in charge a bit more, and we're going to get to see her develop relationships with the various members of Team Flash, and I think they'll be pretty different than Caitlin's relationships with them.
Congratulations on directing.
Thank you very much.
I thought that episode was great.
Thank you.
How did you feel about doing it? Would you do it again?
I was super grateful. It was a great script, and I had a lot of fun with the episode. I'm directing again this season. I'm directing episode 6, which I'm very excited about, just kind of coming up quickly. But I had a fantastic time. I learned a lot, and I'm excited to do it again.
How excited were you to see the new costume?
So I love that costume. We've actually been working on it for a year. We started working on that costume for season 5, and then every time I thought they were going to write it into an episode, they never did. Which, I yelled at them a lot about, with love, of course. So I was excited to finally wear it this year. I really pushed. They wanted to reveal the suit on a mannequin at the end of season 5, and I was like, guys, that's not fair. You have to wear it on Killer Frost. Not as much fun on a mannequin.
What's the it's been a while since she's had like a proper costume or anything like resembling. I mean, was it only the other two?
She had a suit in season 3 when she was like full villain, and I think when she sort of shed her villain persona and kind of started to play with Team Flash in season 4, they gave her a different suit, but it was not my favorite.
Yeah. So then, what's the story reason for this? Because this is really like this is a full-blown costume.
I think Cisco, with his incredible sewing machine, did Killer Frost a solid and build her a suit that she can go out and fight bad guys.
I thought one of the best things about this season, in addition to all the Killer Frost and Caitlin stuff, was Caitlin and Cisco got so many great things together.
They really did.
I felt a lot of people really separated this season. I think we might see a little more like Team Flash, like doing stuff together as opposed to off on their own. I just miss them.
I know Team Flash is pretty great, and you're right. Everybody did. However, I think I like that everybody has their own storylines. I think 6 seasons in, you know who these characters are, and it's time to deepen their relationships and get to see more one-on-one stuff, which I really enjoy. You will still see Team Flash having fun, don't worry. It's a really cute moment at the end of episode 3 that I'm excited for.
Is there anyone particularly you'd like to work with in this year's crossover?
Oh, in this year's crossover. I feel like Killer Frost is a different, pun intended, vibe than most of the other superheroes. Like, I feel like having her with Heatwave was funny because they're both pretty irreverent. I feel like that dynamic with someone perhaps as earnest as Supergirl would be really fun. I actually think Killer Frost and Green Arrow would be pretty hilarious together. There's a lot of potential.
How does Nora's death does it affect Caitlin Frost differently?
I think it affects Barry and Iris most of all, and obviously, the rest of Team Flash, they're family, so they want to support Barry and Iris as they sort of grieve the loss of their daughter, even though they know they will see her again at some point, but it will be different.
So much of last season was driven by Caitlin's father.
Right.
So what now? I mean, like, where does this? What's the primary driver for this?
Again, I think we're going to get to see a little bit more development of Killer Frost's character, and she's a little childlike in a lot of senses because she only pops out when it's time to fight, and then she sort of gets put back away, and hopefully we're going to see that change. It's Caitlin that we see in Star Labs. What's it like with Killer Frost in Star Labs? Does she know is she as doctory as Caitlin is, and is she as willing to be a caretaker as Caitlin is?
That's great. Just gave us that around.
Gave you the nod?
We got the motion.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
And thank you for sharing a nice picture of the new costume.
Thank you. I had to fight. Guys.
The fabulous Candice Patton always attracts the bigger crowd, so that's how it goes.
No big surprise.
Who do I pay later for feeding my ego?
So last season, very unfortunately, ended in heartbreak for Iris, and if that newspaper headline is any indication, it looks like more heartbreak is ahead. How's Iris doing with all that this year?
I feel like Iris is just always in trauma and crying. I feel like most of what I've been doing the last 6 seasons is crying. But yeah, we pick up 10 seconds after season 5. Obviously, the death of Nora is still very fresh for Barry and Iris. We watch them both try and deal with it in their own way, maybe not in the healthiest of ways, and very early on we watch them come to the conclusion that they've got to properly grieve Nora to move forward and get back to being Team Flash, and also ultimately getting to deal with the crisis on Infinite Earth.
Yeah. So there's a new villain this season. How much interaction will Iris have with this person?
I don't know. So far, not much. Granted, we're only on episode 2. I imagine that none of us are going to escape this villain. I'm sure we'll come to blows at some point. Iris is always kind of finding herself in the middle of things with her reporting and being nosy, so I'm sure their pals will cross.
How much of Iris the reporter are we going to see in the upcoming season?
A lot more. from what I understand, I'm saying earlier, I was like, I have trust issues, so I don't know. We'll see. They say that to me every year in season 6. So, but I do think we're finally getting into it. We saw Iris, start her own newspaper last season. She has a new office. This season, we're going to see my character there much more. She's hiring a team of employees. We're really moving towards that idea of the Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist that we know from the comics. So I'm really, really excited about that. I didn't want this show to end without us doing that. Comic book fans know her as this ace reporter, and so I wanted us to get to that before it all is said and done.
So we're learning more about her in her professional life. Are we going to be delving more into the personal life as well? Because we heard there's going to be more details and nuances about each character.
Yeah, I think we're really going to, every episode is going to be more focused on certain characters. So we're going to get to learn a lot more about certain characters. I'm really excited about that. Obviously, I feel like Barry, Iris, Joe, we're kind of the heart of the show. So I don't think I can escape, the family and the love of it all. So I think we'll definitely be dealing with those issues. Also, you were saying the date change of the newspaper. There's obviously, a lot of heartbreak potentially coming.
About lots of joy and happiness.
I hope so. I would love for them to be, I don't know, someone was mentioning earlier, like, is Iris going to get pregnant? So there's always potential for joy and happiness. Yeah.
Are we going to be looking forward to maybe another girls' night episode that you guys have had?
Oh my gosh, forgot about that. I would love that. I don't know. Maybe during the crossovers, there's a moment for the ladies to get together. I don't know.
Iris and Lois, reporters on the town.
Listen, it's such a missed opportunity. I feel like you got these two, iconic reporters. I feel like they should know and meet each other. So who knows? It's not impossible. I would love that.
So you guys have had a great variety of directors over the years, both internal and external. Is there anybody you're looking forward to in the coming season? I think our thing is we're trying to have a lot of repeat directors. So, there's people that we obviously love and we want them to be back and continue. And so we're really working with people who we love and are in-house and that get our show and are passionate about our show and know our voice. And for me, I'm always pushing more diverse people. I want to see more black women behind the camera. Just people of color in general. More women, especially just more women. I know these visually heavy shows can be very intimidating, or people think they're intimidating, but these opportunities need to be given to people. And so, yeah.
Any interest yourself?
Someone asked me that before. Never say never. I think before I leave the show, it's something that I'd probably definitely do. I'm very much an actor, and I'm a person who, I don't ever want to do something just for the sake of doing it and saying I did it. I have to be passionate and invested in doing everything I do. And I'm still very passionate and invested in being an actor. That's my calling in life, I feel like, and that's where my head's at, and I want to do this character justice, and I want to stay in that lane. But I think, before I bow out of this show, whenever that may be, I think it's possible that I could do it, just not right now.
Last question.
How has Nora's sacrifice affected the West Allen family? Is there tension, or is it kind of bringing them closer together?
I think a little bit of both. I think grief is never an easy thing for a family to deal with. Barry and Iris have a common goal, which is to stay married and deal with everything together. So I don't think there's any fear of that, but it's definitely not easy. But yeah, I think the thing you can kind of always fall back on is that they love each other and they want to see it through together.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben.